Does the sheer awfulness of New Who actually hurt or help Classic Who? Hello and welcome to another video. Now, New Who fans may want to skip this one as it drops a few harsh truth bombs, which, let's face it, truth is never popular these days, especially with people who like crap. Off to a great start. No, I just want to talk about how the perception of the original proper series of Doctor Who is or isn't affected by the modern show, particularly by how awful it is, particularly the sheer objective shite of the last 6 or 7 years, certainly since the end of the Capaldi era. Objectively, we've been delivered nothing but absolute worthless garbage, and that worthless garbage does not seem like it's going away anytime soon, at least not until it gets axed, which we can only hope will happen very soon. But what impact does that have on the perception of the original series, both in terms of the wider public or whatever, and in terms of us personally as fans? And when I say that, I'm talking about us proper fans of the proper show, not this trash. Now, speaking in terms of like I think that New Who, when it started, there was this perception, encouraged by Davis, of course, because he's a scurrilous little two-faced. I was going to say a bad word there, but we won't. It's all about the special effects and doesn't the original show look dated? And of course, now the 2000 series looks dated as fuck with that god awful tons of CGI as well. Oh dear, that didn't age well, did it, Russell? But I think certainly as New Who has gone on and gotten worse and worse, and certainly at this point is now basically just a national embarrassment and an international laughingstock, the seed has certainly turned. I've seen a lot of people on YouTube comments, on forums, etc., people who came to Doctor Who with the new series and eventually went back and got into Classic. And it's not just that they've realised the original series is better, but the sheer awfulness of New Who especially in the last 6 or 7 years. They've not just stopped watching New Who. They've basically thrown the whole of New Who out from the beginning and are now just Classic. Now that's not just people like me who Classic is what I became a fan of. I've never been big on New Who. I've always found it a rather flawed, infantile reboot, and that's only just completely not even worth commenting on these days. It's just trash. This is people who actually became fans because of New Who, and many of them are like not just stopped watching and thrown out the modern stuff, because you'd think that some of them, and again to be fair, there are some of them who are just like, I'll stick to the first so many seasons or blah 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 blah. But there's a lot that have actually gone. The whole thing's crap, really. Classic Who's better, and that's that's people who came to it via the new series and have been so disgusted by how it's ended up. Now we'll stick to the original. I think that's a really interesting thing. Now there is a danger, of course, particularly with the wider public, because let's face it, normies are not exactly the brightest sparks in the light bulb. That we watched Doctor Who this week, it was fucking shite. So that must mean it must always have been fucking shite. I think there's a danger of that, but then again, I don't think we can be too overly concerned with the opinions of the plebs, to be honest. Who cares, really? Oh dear. Oh dear. Laughing at your own jokes, terrible, isn't it? Now, what prompted this video, and perhaps the wider question, is the sheer awfulness of New Who even making stories from the original show that you never particularly liked looks so much better by comparison? Because this has happened to me a couple of times in the last year or two, where for some reason I've gone back to a story. I wanted to watch a Doctor Who. I wanted to watch a proper Doctor Who. I didn't necessarily want to watch one of the classics, either often because it's not that long since I saw them and I don't want to watch them again that soon. So I've reached for a story that not only is that not one of my absolute favourites, but not one I've ever been particularly fond of. In fact, in both cases that I'm going to talk about, I hadn't seen them for quite a long time. One of them, I don't even know remember the last time I did watch it. It was probably the mid-2000s when the DVD came out or something. Now, one of them I did a video on recently, which is Revenge of the Cybermen. This is a story I never particularly liked. It was the first kind of VHS that I ever got back in the late 80s. And I was never particularly impressed with it. I didn't watch it again for a long time. I saw it again about 4 years ago and actually quite liked it. And I saw it again last year and really enjoyed it. I mean, it's not that I'm looking at it and thinking, oh my God, it's a misunderstood classic. No, I can see all the flaws and all the things that perhaps made it not look great next to other stories. But I still really enjoyed it because it was just proper Doctor Who. Because it's like, yeah, next to Genesis of the Daleks or some other unimpeachable Tom Baker classic, Revenge of the Cybermen looks a bit iffy. But again, next to New Who, especially the last 7 years or so, I'll take Revenge of the Cybermen any bloody day of the week. And the other story that this happened to me recently, again, I saw Revenge about 4 years ago. I hadn't seen this one since the mid-2000s. And it was just a few months ago. It was Planet of the Daleks. Now, I know some people love Planet of the Daleks. Some people regard it as one of their absolute favourite stories. I've never really liked it, I have to be honest. I think I first saw it like in the fan club in Adelaide back in the day on the big screen. I wasn't particularly impressed with it even then. I think I had the video with I had the double pack with Frontier, the VHS release. I always regarded Frontier as the better of the two. I always found Planet of the Daleks just kind of boring. Sometimes I'd put it on and struggle to get past part one, and I had not seen it since the mid-2000s. And I don't know, it was just a couple of months ago. I was looking for a Doctor Who to watch. I felt like watching a Doctor Who. I felt like watching a Pertwee, but I was umming and ahhing because I kind of wanted to watch one of the Blu-rays with a better picture quality. But most of them stories on those I'd seen relatively recently and certainly not long enough to watch again. And I was looking at season 10. It's like Three Doctors and Carnival are my favourites from season 10. Again, not really long enough to watch them again since I last saw them. And I thought about Planet of the Daleks, and I just thought, you know what, we'll give it a try. I'll probably turn it off, but I'll give it a try. And I enjoyed it. I sat through all freaking 6 episodes and thoroughly enjoyed myself. It perhaps gets a bit much. Episode 5, it's the pacing gets a bit slow. But I got through it all, and generally speaking, I actually enjoyed it. And I'm thinking about it now, and I'm like, I'll watch that again. I'll watch that again in a few years. It was fun. And again, this is a story I pretty much regard it as bottom of the barrel stuff, to be honest with you. And now it just seems like, again, it's never going to be one of my absolute favourites, but it just seems like proper Doctor Who, with a proper Doctor Who atmosphere and a proper Doctor, and just it just feels like my favourite show in a way that New Who arguably never has, and whatever insane garbage they're spewing out of their various orifices now certainly doesn't bear any remote resemblance to, accidental or otherwise. And it's like, yeah, next to this shit, Planet of the Daleks is freaking peak Doctor Who in comparison. So I don't know about the wider perception. I don't know about the wider perception within fandom. I mean, I don't. There's only like one or two forums that even talks about it that I'm on now, and I only watch a few like YouTube stuff. Shout out to Who's Views. I'm sure people know who I'm talking about. I've been on their channel a couple of times. I don't really. To be honest, I don't really watch the coverage of the modern stuff, like the headlines and that, because it just depresses me and I just don't care. But I love their classic stuff. But aside from that, I don't really know what's going on in wider fandom, and I don't really care. But for me personally, the sheer unbridled awfulness of New Who, especially these days, is making even the weaker stories of the original show look so much better.